Welcome to The Podcast, the Human Experience Podcast, where we explore the depths of spirituality and our own personal journeys and experiences. I'm Dr. Carlos Garcia.
And I'm Supna Doshi. In this space, we'll reflect on the wisdom of some of the most profound spiritual teachers, from Eckhart Tolle to Ram Dass, Wayne Dyer, Michael Singer. Together, we'll dive into their teachings and share our own insights that have guided us on our own paths of self-discovery.
Each episode will feature inspiring clips from these masters, weaving them into our own reflections and conversations on how spirituality has enriched our daily lives, deepened our understanding of ourselves, and led us to a more meaningful experience.
So, take a deep breath, open your heart, and join us on this journey of exploration. Welcome to The Podcast, the Human Experience Podcast.
So I think it was really interesting. I had to, in my mind, I think I had to figure out I'm still trying to figure out how my mind works, what motivates me and what keeps me motivated. Because one of the challenges, ironically, that I've had in my life is not finishing things. And so I'll start something, but then just not be able to take it over the finish line. And so when I started running, one of my biggest fears was I won't actually run a marathon. And so I've been training for 10 months now, and I had a real struggle with, do I run a half marathon? And then will that be it? Then I won't want to do anymore because, now I've done that. So now I'm done. So that was actually a huge fear of mine. But I walked through that and said, I will set a half marathon goal and see how that goes. And I did it. I ran 13.1 miles. I ran the whole way, which I don't think I've done before. Which I know I haven't done before. A few weeks before that, my coach had put an 18-kilometer run on my program. And I was like, I've already done 18. But while I was running my 22 or my 21.1, I was thinking back that 18 and realized I didn't actually have to run the whole thing. 6 of it, I was walking. So I was and I had a time goal. I wanted to make it under 3 hours.
I know that you've mentioned, I think on one of our episodes when we were talking about sort of meditation, right, as your practice. But I'm really floored by, take me back to the beginning. There was a point where getting half a mile in, a point not too very long in the past. So take me there. And I'm just really sort of intrigued to hear how this thing evolved for you, both in your mind and definitely your body, how your body responded.
Yeah, I think, it's definitely 2 different challenges I've been working through. I think, yes, with the mind, it had definitely been a full exploration in my ego voice, the inner critic, and what that soul voice says. And every run has been working through that and being aware and recognizing when these different voices come up. And in fact, I was reflecting on my ability to run all 13 miles. And what I realized was that whether it's the ego voice or the inner critic, it didn't show up on my run. At no point in time was I telling myself, you're too tired, you need to walk, you need to stop, you need to rest, you don't need to do this. What are you trying to prove? Who are you trying to prove? At no time during that whole run did that show up at all. Wow. The only thing that did show up was just keep running. You can do it, just keep running. And it was really a very pleasant experience to not have to fight through or work through those other voices, for sure.
Was that something that was progressive? As you were training, did you feel that voice sort of soften or go into the background, or was it's kind of been there through your training and then on the day it just wasn't there?
Yeah. I think that there's no run that I've been on when I haven't heard that, hey, you need to stop, you need to rest, you can't do it, you're going to hurt yourself, you're going to whatever. Yeah. Every single run that I've had, unless it was a super short one, The super short ones are fine. But any other run, it has always been there. And it was almost like on this one, I left it at home. Like I just decided I wasn't taking it with me. And I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know that was a choice I had to say, hey, you're staying at home today. I got some stuff I need to do. I was like, oh my gosh, it's such a powerful tool.
Yeah. That's amazing.
It was amazing to experience and to reflect on. I think in the moment I didn't really I wasn't aware of that because really it was just telling me just keep running.
Yeah.
And that was my focus.
Well,
I think on a from a physical standpoint, it was really my body can do whatever I want it to do.
hmm.
My body literally has no limitations except those that my mind puts on it.
Yeah. I know you've been tapping into David Goggins and just some of his podcasts and some of his stuff. I'm curious how much, if any, that played a role. Just this person that's just like defied many odds by the feats that he performs around running and distance running and pushing his body.
Yeah, I turned him on the minute I woke up. I woke up at 4:15. My goal was to get out of the house by 5. I wanted to drive to my starting point, get there at about 5:20 and start running at 5:30. Like that was my plan. And so the minute I woke up, and to be honest, I didn't have necessarily the day before that I would have wanted, where I rested a lot. I ate really well. I felt really good waking up. Like I had to, usually I get up to run without an alarm. I had to set an alarm. I was in a deep sleep when it woke me up. And so it wasn't, in my head, like I wasn't in an ideal state. So yeah, I Gogginsed it and I turned him on and he started talking about and the power of the mind. And I listened to him, yeah, until I got to start my run.
Once the mind knows you're not going to quit something, it's going to try to find more.
When your mind knows it's not going to quit, and this is what I found out, this is my 40% rule. When your mind knows it's not going to quit, your body will adapt to whatever is in front of it.
When you say, fuck you, this sucks, I'm drowning, I'm miserable, I'm suffering, I'm broken, but I'm not going anywhere. What happens to your mind is it does this. It says, fuck, he's not leaving. So we got to expand. We got to grow. We got to figure this fucking thing out. Once you change one thing, your mindset, you can attack everything.
I'm reflecting on, you did a sort of self-directed half marathon, right? Like no gun at the starting point, no right banners at the end, no hoopla, just, some friends and family waiting for you at the end. And I'm sort of thinking about like, there's a way in which preparing for a marathon and all of the celebration and even having other runners that psychologically can be very helpful, right? In terms of just like dopamine release and all of the chemicals. You didn't have that. It was just like me, my headphones, and the road.
I'm wondering how much faster I could have gone.
Right. That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what people say, right? And that's what my running coach was saying. He was like, because initially I had signed up for a half marathon to run a half marathon with my friend up in DC. And then she had come back from a trip to London and she had decided not to run it. And so then I was like, well, then I don't really want to take a plane up somewhere to go run with a bunch of people I don't know. And so, yeah, so initially my plan that I told my coach was I'm going to go do this. And he was super excited. And then I told him, well, by the way, now I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to run it on my own. And he's awesome. I felt like he was a little disappointed, but I think this whole journey of running has been a really personal space for me to learn more about myself, to explore more of the light and dark areas within me, to really work through those voices and to see what my body can really do. And I feel like if there's somebody there with me, I think because of my personality, that I am always putting other people first.
Mm.
And so I feel even now when somebody says, "Oh, I'll run with you," my head goes to, "I don't know if I can run as fast as you can," and then I'll be slowing you down, and then you won't get the workout that you want. So I feel almost that possibly by running with somebody else, it would not serve the purpose that I have for myself in my running journey. I think for the marathon, I'm definitely gonna do all the stuff. I'm going to sign up for a race. I'm going to go to the start line and I'm going to do it. I think in that though, I still won't do it I will still won't run with somebody because I still want to experience that. And I think maybe having a lot of people there that I just don't know will be fine. But this journey has just been really a personal exploration, kind of another tool to add to my tool belt. Like you use meditation. I was seeking more forms of meditation for myself. And I think it takes a while before you know whether something works for you or not. But so I ran on Sunday. Today is Tuesday, and I can't wait to go run again.
Wow.
So I feel like this is probably a good tool for me then.
My experience of running, sort of strictly like this is for physical exercise, it's always grueling in that like you're pushing yourself, it's uncomfortable. And I imagine, I guess the intention with which you run, right? But also like the distance. I think we've talked a little bit about the kind of headspace that you get into after sort of your body maybe shifts into releasing certain hormones or neurochemicals. But can you speak more to, right, like how you were able to use this as a spiritual practice? Like you mentioned a couple minutes ago, like sort of navigating things about light and dark. Like what did that look like for you with running?
I think I'm just at a place in my life where, and I've talked about my therapist, Ali, before, where I am doing a lot of self-reflection. I have aging parents, I have children that are growing up, where my identity wavers a lot these days, usually identifying myself through my roles, and my roles continue to shift kind of like tectonic plates right now, getting ready for an earthquake, I feel. And so I think the spiritual work for me is really the exploration of who am I, who is Sapna, and what that means to me. And the running gives me, again, for me, it's time alone because I choose to do it alone. It's quiet in the sense that, I do run with music, but it's quiet. That kind of becomes more of a background white noise. And I think it takes on, yeah, it almost has nothing to do for me physically. I mean, obviously it improves my physical health, but I don't do it because of that. And I think that the spiritual practice, and it's very ritualistic, which I find in many religions, ritual are very grounding. And for me, my runs have become very ritualistic, where it's almost a devotion. The night before, I'll take out all of my stuff. I'll get ready. I will almost like paying homage to the running gods, I guess. But it is that ritual of getting ready the night before to know, okay, in the morning, this is the first thing that I'm going to go and do. And that even in the morning, the ritual of, okay, as soon as I open my eyes, what is that going to look like for me? And I think that ritual has become very grounding for me.
A religion usually has to do with the belief system, has to do with ideology, dogma, rituals, certain kinds of practices that are all part of a religion. So spirituality, on the other hand, has things that are common to all religions. Transcendence, which means getting in touch with that which is beyond space and time. The emergence of Platonic values like truth, goodness, beauty, harmony, love, compassion, joy, equanimity, and the loss of the fear of death. Now that's a common experience which you can call a religious experience, but it's common to all religions. So spirituality is more universal in that it doesn't have boundaries. It respects all religions and yet transcends them, because it encompasses the truth of all religions. All religions say you have to love your neighbor as yourself, you have to be loving, compassionate, you have to forgive, you have to get in touch with your inner silence, and on and on. So spirituality is all those things, but not as a belief system or as dogma, but something that happens quite naturally to you when you get in touch with your soul.
I think one of the topics that comes up around running, but any sort of physical activity, again, where you're kind of pushing your limits or it's uncomfortable, is motivation and discipline, right? Are the two that you hear most about. What can you now sort of say about those two concepts that maybe you weren't able to when you first started?
I think on the outside, people would disagree with me, but I'm not a very disciplined person. Like, discipline is just not something, that I'm not. If you were to show me a video of myself now, a year ago, I would say, there's no way that's not me. I don't do those things. And so I find with discipline and motivation, I know I've been talking about guns a lot, but it's just the showing up. Like, I don't have to go and run. All I have to do is put my clothes out the night before. I don't have to go and run. All I have to do is put my shoes on in the morning. Like, I don't have to go out and run. I just have to make sure my headphones are charged. And so I think for me, motivation has and discipline have shifted in the sense that it's not about the run. It's about the support system around it. Is there somebody who's going to make lunch for the kids in the morning? Does everybody in the house know that I won't be there when they wake up? That I won't see them before they go to school, that I'll be there to pick you up afterwards. And so I feel like it's put a lot of other things into place in my life that I needed, that I didn't know that I needed, in order to, in some ways, put myself first. And for me, even when I go out and I have a so-called bad run, like I don't hit my paces or whatever, my coach has always said, well, that was just today. You still have tomorrow. And, I have this app and it tells you like you hit 100 runs. And I was like, woo, like, holy smokes, I ran 100 times already. And I sent him this thing, saying, oh, can you believe it? I already did 100 runs. I sent this to a man who was the youngest man who ran 100 marathons, by the way. This is my coach. And Finn responds, he was like, yes, absolutely. Great job, Supna. And also, it's only 100 runs.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for keeping me humble. He's like, it's just the start of your journey. Like, you just started running. Like, you're gonna have thousands of runs that you're gonna do. So yes, celebrate it, and also know, like, this is the journey that you've chosen. And if it works for you and accomplishes everything that you want. So I almost feel like, in ways, those are the things that have helped me with the motivation and the discipline and sticking to it. And because of that meditative piece that I get sometimes when I run, it makes me keep wanting to show up.
There's something deeply honest about running. It strips everything away. Distractions, ego, noise. And what you're left with is the truth. Your breath, your will, your thoughts. Every step essentially becomes a conversation with yourself. Who are you? Who are you when no one's watching? Who are you when it hurts? When you want to quit? When it's hard? That's why I've always believed running is more than exercise. It's a litmus test. It's a mirror, a teacher. It is a metaphor for life. Because like life, every run tells a different story. Some days, they're smooth and effortless. Others, man, they feel heavy. Like the world is pressing down on your shoulders. And every terrain you cross, like a mentor, shines a spotlight on a lesson you'll eventually need to learn.
It also makes me think about just the power of the mind, right? To both help us and to be a detriment to us. And how, in a lot of ways, if we just sort of let ourselves focus on the small things in front of us, right? Like you said, putting out the clothes, waking up in the morning, tying your shoes, getting your headphones, right? And just, you've been a real inspiration to me, to where I recently started jogging again, right? Since my son was born, I have to admit I've let my physical activity sort of fall to the, just kind of by the wayside. So I started noticing that when I run, that if I'm just like, oh, I'll keep jogging to that next pole, right? Or I'll jog till I get to the 200 calorie, right? Like, and then I'll walk a little bit, but then I'll keep going, right? Like the next thing in front of me makes the discomfort and the pain and whatever so much more tolerable. And it also makes me think of just the idea of impermanence, right? Like this moment might suck, but if I can tolerate it, like the next moment is going to be different.
Absolutely.
And how just with that strategy, right, with the small little 1% goals, the little changes, a little bit here, a little bit there, we can truly accomplish anything, like you said earlier.
Yeah, I love that you talk about impermanence because I think for me, that really is the definition of life. Everything, nothing is permanent in our lives. And yeah, that one moment that feels so bad is literally just that moment. And it will change. And then it will change again. And then it will change again. It's so funny because I ran 21.1 kilometers, 22, I forget what the number is always, but the last 2 kilometers were the hardest.
Mm.
It was the last two. But then I said to myself, you've already run 19.
Right.
What are you talking about? Two being hard. Like, and I did. Like I had an emotional moment. I started to cry. And it wasn't because and it wasn't for any of the things that you would think. It wasn't because I was in physical pain. It wasn't because it was just an emotional, I think, connection to this is just temporary
Mm.
and it will change. But I think what you said about the power of the mind is just, I think it's beyond our comprehension
Mhm.
how powerful the mind is and how powerful we all are within the course of our own daily lives in working through our own trauma, in making choices, in all of those things. I just feel so strongly that that inner critic and that ego voice that was developed through all of the other voices, that when we work through shedding it and letting it go, our power, yeah, incomprehensible.
I know this is a generalization, but it's just comes from the ways that I observe people and society. And, I think that naturally, as human beings, we want to sort of increase pleasure and avoid pain. And in a lot of ways, we build these as comfortable as possible lives for ourselves, where we can avoid discomfort as much as we possibly can. Yeah, that feels like we do ourselves and that inner sort of soul, that inner person. We do it a real disservice, right? When we don't put ourselves in uncomfortable situations to really to dig in, to learn about ourselves, to see what we're capable of. Yeah, I've noticed in my work that that's something I'm always encouraging people to do now. And almost like that, the great thing is there's so many places you can choose to do that in your life.
Yeah.
Just reflect for an hour what feels uncomfortable, what feels scary, what feels anxiety provoking.
Yeah, I think for so many of us, just sitting quietly for 20 minutes is uncomfortable enough. Like you can just start there. You don't have to go bungee jump off a bridge or go run a marathon or anything. Like there are these, yeah, really small ways in which we avoid life every day where we can just start there.
Yeah, and the magic on the other side. I can really speak to that as someone who has repeatedly, whether consciously or not, or intentionally or not, has put themselves in challenging situations and truly feel compelled to pretty often. Sort of just reflecting on, I had this realization here recently. I've been a psychologist now for about 10 years. And I think I'd say I'm a fairly decent therapist. And I think probably most people in their career at that point would sort of like double down, right? And just like, how do I get better at this? And I find myself sort of wanting to move out of that space and start something different, start something new, start at the beginning again. And yeah, just the other day I was having a conversation with myself and I'm like, are you ever just gonna stop this madness? Like just settle down and appreciate the work you've already put in. And the other part of me is like, no, we gotta keep going.
I'm curious for you if there's a difference in mindset between kind of the way you used to approach challenges before and how you think about them now, like whether it's specifically about running or running into fires or joining, the Marine Corps or those things, how those challenges, I guess why you chose to do them then and then why you choose the challenges that you choose now.
Yeah, maybe the approach is different. I don't know that the why is different. The why has always been this will make me a better version of myself. The putting myself through this adversity, through this torture, through this hard thing will give me access to versions of myself that I haven't encountered yet. And I know, like if I just simply show up, decide to do it, right? Sign on the dotted line, strap on the boots, do the thing. I'll figure out a way if I just keep focusing in the moment, like how to get through it. I'll just keep doing it, right? Like I trust myself that there aren't many places where I sort of have given up in my life. And I know on the other side of this, there is more strength, more resilience, greater wisdom, at a minimum, a good story to tell, and usually all of the above. So I think that when I'm pondering like the next hard thing to do, that's what keeps showing up is like, yeah, I know on the other side of this, there's something really, really beautiful and really magical.
I love that. I almost feel like, in a way, I didn't do hard things in my life. Almost that I took the easy way. Like I did what was expected. I did what I was taught. I did what I was told. I did all of those things. And I didn't take those opportunities to really see what I could actually do. And I think in my own self exploration, it was a lot not about making other people happy, but that was what I was taught was what would make me happy.
Mm.
And so I did those things. And I think now I am able to set aside what everybody else has defined is my happiness and really explore what that looks like for myself. And that feels like a very good place to be.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine so. I will say that one of the things that feels different then versus now is that I think there was a flavor of the ways in which I would do hard things in the past being driven by some desire or need to prove to others my, my strength or something about me, where now I don't feel like I have anything to prove to anyone other than myself. Yeah, I mean, I think that takes some pressure off. I think it makes me more selective in the hard things that I'm choosing, right? Yeah, and I don't think one is better than the other. I often will tell my clients like, yeah, motivation and discipline are great sort of drivers of behavior, and sometimes so is anxiety and fear. Like those will move you into performance as well. And so I've become less sort of judgmental about the particular reasons why I decide to do something and more focusing on the outcome or what I derive. But also from another lens, I think just like it's all just stuff, right? Like it's all just another sort of vehicle to mirror back to us where we are or where we're not. And then we get to decide what we want to do with that.
Yeah, I love that. I think when you talk about motivation, because from an EI standpoint, like building inner motivation, especially in children, the carrot stick motivation or, learning to encourage kids to nurture their own inner motivation. I think, yeah, I was always motivated by a carrot or a stick, mostly a carrot. I think that was always where my motivation came from. And now it's neither. And it's just finding that inner motivation that feels really good.
Yeah, you and I have had some recent conversations about sort of that inner voice, which I believe all of us have, whether we're tuned into it or not. But I think the way that that shifted for me was that that inner voice was very much modeled by growing up in a right in an environment like you're describing, that the carrot, right? Like the outcome was, the test grade, the ribbon was the metric that you were after. And so almost like experiencing this dissatisfaction when you don't attain it, where as I've sat with that voice longer, I realize it's just the thing that lives in me that is constantly inviting me to like shed old versions of myself, whether that's old stories, old beliefs, ideas about myself and others and the world. And it's a much kinder voice now, I think. It's a much kinder voice.
Yeah. I think for me, if I'm looking for a black and white way to say it, it's that the motivation was always love. If you do it this way, then we'll love you. If you do it this way, then we'll love you. And I think it can feel like a really beautiful motivation when you're in it and when you think that, oh, look, they love me, and this is all I have to do, and you love me. That's fantastic. And, 48 years down the road, sitting back and reflecting on that and the intention with which I tried to teach my own kids motivation and really being able to, yeah, just remove that and be able to detach from it and say, love me or don't, that's your choice. It's okay. Like this, I'm gonna do this because this is what's right for me, and this is what makes me feel happy, and this is what makes me stronger, and this is what feeds my soul and grows my soul. I think that space where I am able to slowly detach from that belief system that has been there for so long, that the running has really just led me on that path.
Yeah, I'm curious if other runners have such a deep experience like this, but I mean I've heard different stories. And this is just kind of halfway for you, right? Like does it feel like right, so you're still you're setting yourself up to run a marathon, but does it feel like this has become a lifestyle for you? Like just this is a part of your life now?
Yeah, I think what I was afraid of, that this would be the end because I had done it, is definitely not manifested. I definitely don't feel like, oh, okay, I've accomplished what I want. I'm like, no, what, how much more training? Which marathon should I sign up for? Let's see what I can do. And then also just thinking beyond that too, I think I had mentioned it to you. Half Ironman sounds exciting for me now. It's a new skill to learn how to swim and ride a bike. It's more time that I get to be alone. It's pushing my mental and physical limits that I may or may not have. And I think, yeah, I think it really has become a lifestyle for me to just really see what I can do. It's like a crazy, scary, awesome fun place to be, to kind of sit in that. Ooh, what if we tried this? What if we tried that? And I wonder if I could do this. And to not have anybody else's voice influencing that in any way is, I think, for me, just really a special place for me to be right now.
Well, I am your number one fan, and I will be rooting you on every step of the way.
Thank you, my friend. It is definitely because not only everybody that showed up, at the finish line for me, but just all the relationships that I have that give me the space to do this. So I'm so grateful for you.
Grateful for you.
There was a friend of mine, her name was Portia Nelson. Portia passed away a few years back. She lived up in Seattle. And she was at a seminar, and they asked her to, and they asked everyone to write on a 5x7 sheet of paper or card the 5 chapters of their life. They only wanted to give them 5x7 cards because they didn't want them to get too wordy. And Portia Nelson sat down and wrote these words about the 5 chapters of her life. And I thought I would share them here with you. They're so beautiful. She said, chapter 1 of my life. I walk down the street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I'm lost. I'm helpless. It isn't my fault. and it takes forever to find a way out. Chapter 2 of my life. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place. It isn't my fault. And it still takes a long time to get out. Chapter 3 of my life. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it there. I still fall in. It's a habit. My eyes are open. I know where I am. It's my own fault. And I get out immediately. Chapter 4 of my life. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. Chapter 5 of my life. I walk down another street.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Podcast, the Human Experience Podcast. We're so grateful to have shared this time with you.
As we continue recording new episodes, we'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts, questions, or topics you'd like us to explore, and tell us about your own spiritual journey. We want to connect with you.
Give us a call at 800-791-3884 and leave us a voicemail. You might just be featured on a future episode of The Podcast.
Thank you for being part of our community. Until next time, keep walking your path with peace, love, and purpose.